Okay, so this is a question from the first midterm, and this is just a basic unit conversion. We're starting with a rate meters per second, so that's distance divided by time, and we're ending with a rate distance divided by time, kilometers per hour. But we need to use definitions of how meters relate to kilometers and how seconds to relate to hours to be able to convert this number into these units to go from meters per second to kilometers per hour. So to do this, we're going to set up a unit conversion format table. Okay, so we started with 6.08 meters per second, and we need to end up finishing with something kilometers per hour. Should be a lowercase k, but okay, so to do this, we know we're not going to end up with meters at the end. We're going to end up with kilometers. So with that in mind, we need to convert meters into kilometers. There are 1,000 meters in a kilometer. So because we know that 1,000 meters is the same thing as 1 kilometer, we can use that as a conversion factor. So this is an equivalent statement. If we put one side of this over the other side, that's going to be a conversion factor. And because I want to get rid of meters, I'm going to put it opposite on the other side of this big bar, this fraction bar, so that it cancels out the meters we already have. I don't want meters in the end. I want kilometers. I don't see any meters here. That m should actually be in part of the km. Pretend they're closer together than they actually are. So I'm going to put 1,000 meters in the bottom. And I'm going to put kilometers on top. Okay. So now I can cancel some units. Meters cancel meters, and I'm left with kilometers per second. We don't want kilometers per second. We want kilometers per hour. So in a sense, the length is done. We have kilometers. We want kilometers. We're done with that. But the seconds are not done. We want to get those to hours. So we know a few things about time. We know that there are 60 seconds in a minute. And we also know that there are 60 minutes in 1 hour. So we can turn both of these into these equivalent statements into conversion factors. So if we want to get rid of seconds, do we put 60 seconds over 1 minute, or do we put 1 minute over 60 seconds? Yeah, you put 60 seconds over 1 minute, and that should cancel out your units and get you closer to the end. And actually, it looks that way because we can cancel out this second with this second, and we're left with minutes in the bottom. We don't want to stop with minutes. We want with hours. We can use the other equivalent statement. 60 minutes is equal to 1 hour to create another conversion factor. Is that right? No, it's wrong, isn't it? Because look, I would have minutes multiplied by minutes, not cancel each other out by being divided by each other. And I'd have hours on top. So this is nasty. I need to move 60 minutes to the top. And let's put 1 hour on the bottom. And since I'm multiplying by something over itself, I'm always multiplying by 1. So even though that wouldn't change the value that we started with, it would give us units that were messed up, units that are just not simple. So we want to get back to the units that we were targeting, kilometers per hour. And I think this helps us because we can cancel out the minutes and we're left with just hours. So we have kilometers per hour, which is what we wanted. Now we have to calculate this, and we're going to do that by multiplying everything on the top. So 6.08 times 1 times 60 times 60, and dividing by 1,000 times 1 times 1, so just dividing by 1,000. And we end up getting, 21.888 in our calculators. So let's write that out, then figure out how to do sig figs. So 21.888, and the units check out because we have kilometers per hour. So how do we round this? How many sig figs did we start with? We started off with 3. And everything else here, every other number here is a definition, so it has infinite precision, or arguably it's beyond precision, and it does not limit our number of sig figs. So we're going to end up with 3 sig figs, which means we need to round to 3 sig figs. So we have to round this to 21.9. And that's literally how you do this. Thankfully, it's one of the answer choices, so we know we're done. And if we had gotten something that was different, like, if we calculated that it was like 19.8, you should check your work to make sure that you can find an error, because that's not the same thing as 21.9. If it's close, you should probably double check to make sure that it's not just completely wrong.